everyone, thank you very much for watching. Liam Hartley with you today, and today I'm joined by Christina, a very special guest who's going to very quickly share some tips with you about finding your passions. Christina is an international speaker, a life coach, spiritual advisor, art therapist, and a host of other wonderful things in the healing space, and has been doing this for many years with clients around the globe. And today we will be talking about passions because a lot of people are not aware of how to find their passions, or if they found their passion, they're not sure how to activate it and transform it. So stay tuned for some great content. And Christina, it's great to have you with us today. Thank you for joining.
Pleasure to be with you, Liam. I'm looking forward to sharing some ideas and thoughts here.
Absolutely. So, on the subject of passions, I mean, it's a big subject, and as I already mentioned, we today will have to narrow it down to a couple of key points. But in terms of how people find their passions and how people transform them, I know that you've helped many people around the world, and obviously continue to help many people around the world with those topics, among many others. So, can we start, please, with that subject of people finding and activating their passions? Thank you.
Okay. I think when a person, in terms of the people I work with and I help and coach and enlighten, for me, their passions are often things that they find themselves doing outside of their so-called workspaces, times when they're doing that because they can. And they're not always something they think of as something that they can actually evolve into anything other space. So, we could use an example of art space or digital space. We could use a podcasting space, as we've illustrated earlier. When a person goes towards a certain genre or an idea, you can say that that's their passion. Now, a lot of people are in their art self, so they don't tend to think about these things too much, and they think, well, I've got to go to work and I've got to get home and I've got to have my tea and get to sleep and get back into the cycle. And they don't tend to think about how they're going to evolve any passions within their life or how they're going to bring anything about that. I remember working with a client who just simply couldn't find their verve, their spark, their inspired self. And we were in conversation and we were talking about the fact that she liked to move and to dance. And at no point has she really evolved into the space of knowing that this was the evolution or the creative expression or the space that she needed to work in and be in. This person was actually very physical. And as I worked with her, she began to understand that these parts of her were enriching other parts of her communication and her relationships. So that's a good example of finding your passions. Oftentimes when we're in our very physical selves, we find a lot of our passions and evolve them into our mental selves. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does very much. And there's a couple of topics there as well, Christina, to expand on that I think will be of benefit to people. One of them, as I mentioned earlier, transforming the passions. I'd like to go a little bit further into that, even though you touched upon it there. Also, the concept of the art self as well, you mentioned there is a block, I would say, for many people finding their passions. So I also think we could touch briefly on that and enlighten people on what that means, but particularly the transformative aspect as well would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. The ought self is an idea that we have been brought up with. It's a doctrine, an idea that we think we should be. Like, I should look after the house because I'm female, or a man should go off and go to work and be the main breadwinner. Or we have to behave in a certain manner because society norms say that we have to have that routine and those ideas. So in a way, we sort of buy into that. And today, more than ever, with social media, because we conform to these things. Once we break free of that idea that there is a person we've been brought up to be, a person we've been indoctrinated to be, we start to understand that there's more to us. And that is part of the transformation, because once we sort of break out of that mold, we're in that transformation of who am I really? What do I really want to do? Who am I? Where are my true passions and ideas and thoughts and concepts? And at that point, I feel that we're bringing our space into a much broader landscape. so that we can find, as I said, that transformation and that space. It takes time. There are layers to transformation. A lot of people have blocks such as traumas, and blocks such as indoctrinations, blocks such as belief structures. So transformation takes time, but a person transforms just like a butterfly metamorphosizes from a cocoon into a butterfly. They find that space as they sort of break out of the cocoon and start to realize that they've been embraced in that cocoon for many, many years, some people most of their lives. And a job of a coach or a transformational coach or somebody that even enlightens a person to understand that is to help them to understand that those are the cultural norms that they may have gotten used to, the concepts of their belief structure, and of course, finding what they truly are, their authentic self. So hopefully that answers that.
Yes, it does, Christina. Yes, it does. Authenticity is so powerful. It's such a meaningful subject, something a lot of people have heard of, but they don't adequately understand. So I really think that will help our listeners. And thank you for sharing that because I know obviously all client stories are confidential between the two of you, but at the same time, we can still use examples to illustrate that. So thank you very much for sharing.